The Changeling will ruin all kinds of campaigns around the Empire. It's a question a lot of people have been asking, and we're going to dig into exactly the behavior of the Changeling and what you can expect. So this is turn 1, and let's see what the Changeling does. And for a little context, if you're not aware, the Changeling, it's almost impossible for him to be completely wiped out. So if the AI is intelligent, and if the AI makes the right decision making in the early stages of the game, they can become a significantly massive terror upon everyone around this side of the map. So this is turn 1, and obviously he's gone towards Needling, which makes sense as that's his very first quest, which spawns a cultist for him. But one of the things that I'm really interested to see is how he then starts to interact with the cults he's making and where he starts pathing towards. And so we can see that he actually has Kyra's Fateweaver, which is the assumed form. And what we do know is it is impossible for the cult that he spawned from sacking Needling to give him that form. As the player, you have to finish that quest and utilize the cult to go into a settlement to gain forms. So the Changeling actually generates a form every single turn, and the reason I can guarantee this is because you can see the diplomacy here. There is nothing to do with hero action minuses, and the exact same thing for the likes of Sterland as well. There is nothing along the lines over there, but he actually is making treaties with the Redstone tribe, the Redhorn tribe. So it's interesting that that's the angle he is taking. He's going with diplomacy of the Beastman. He hasn't gone with any usage of the cult just yet. And it's interesting what he's going to do next, because he's going to recruit, and then let's jump into the next turn. So something quite weird has happened. The Beastmen in which he's allying with have raised Needling where his cult is, but it doesn't matter, generally speaking, purely because of the fact that the cults still remain. And you may be wondering, what is the Changeling doing? Well, he's in ambush stance for some reason right now. Keep in mind, the only reason I know that is because he's invisible, and the cults function as such. If you are at war with him, that's when he's invisible. But I'm going to use the console viewer. I can now zoom to his location like this, zoom to, and so he's sitting here in ambush stance. So this is what he's doing on turn 3. So still not done a crazy amount of work, but let's now jump into the next turn. This is actually quite interesting. This is turn 4, and so the reason he went ambush stance is because of the fact that he didn't want Alberich to go from Flensburg to Wertbad to defend it, because the AI would not have been able to beat this main army alongside the garrison as well at the same time. And we know that he is positioned, if we go to here again, we know he's just right in front of Wertbad, and since he's now got a cult building in there, because you can tell it's been sacked, which taking and putting a cult in there will sack it naturally. Yeah, we know he's right in front, so he's got a cult building in there, so he's going to be invisible, so he should be absolutely fine. Interesting enough, Redhorn tribe is actually moving over to protect him and kind of work alongside the Changeling here, so this is turn 4. Turn 5, he's raiding Wertbad, and he's got another form, which means my theory of every single turn he gets a new form is correct, because there's not a chance in hell he's killed her or allied with her, as he doesn't know her just yet. So yeah, this is what he's doing. He's just kind of working alongside the Redhorn tribe, and they're fighting and sieging Wertbad together. So Alberich was like, enough is enough. He went and beat up the Beastman, but the Changeling is still just sitting here raiding. So it doesn't make much sense that he just sits here raiding, because Zinch, as we know, doesn't have the most amazing auto resolve, but he does have the likes of the Chariot and a lot of powerful units in the Cockatrice, which have a lot of combat power, which makes their auto resolves very strong. So yeah, he's just sort of sitting around here raiding, hasn't tried to recruit. I don't think he's really doing too much. Oh wow, the Tree Hammers have taken Needling, that's quite interesting. So yeah, this is turn 6, and so far the Changeling is not being as much of a terror as he could be, but that is definitely a good thing. And he's just raiding Wertbad. Alberich said, you know what, I'm going to skedaddle. So he's running off somewhere, but the Changeling is just sitting outside of Wertbad and just sieging and not trying to do anything else. So as we know, when it comes to Horde factions, the Changeling is indeed a Horde faction. They are relatively smart in the decision-making, that they go for weak settlements that they can easily take over. But the problem the Changeling has is he hasn't been recruiting at all. If he recruited in this 8 turns, he'd have a full army, and he would easily be able to take out settlements he wants to attack. But here he just seems to want to raid the likes of Wertbad and not be the terror that he can be. But I think for a lot of players, it's probably a good thing. As you know, if you're playing Karl Franz, the Changeling can be a real pain in the nuts if it was piloted correctly. And this further solidifies my point of the fact that Horde factions will try and take over and siege settlements that are weaker per se, that has no one defending them. and they will do their very best to suicide in a lot of attempts. And as you can see, Kazarak has done exactly that. And so this is what you'd kind of expect the Changeling to do, but obviously we can absolutely just go ahead and crush him because of the fact that they will just try and run at things. But the Changeling is just sitting there raiding. You know, we would expect him to try and just attack things and then either flip the coin and die or be completely fine, but he just seems to be doing his own thing, singing to his own tune, where all he wants to do is just sit here and raid Workbad. Unfortunately, he's still raiding Workbad. He's done pretty much nothing this entire campaign. I think potentially CA have taken the approach of just making him very passive as to not make an absolute chaos happen within the likes of the Empire. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip ahead a lot of turns and just see if he continues on the trend of doing this. Albrecht got his butt kicked, and I think what happened was he was trying to move away from the settlement and was caught in a ambush, but it's not actually an ambush, but it engaged you in combat when the Changeling is invisible because of his cults. So yeah, Albrecht has now died, and the likes of the Workbad has not even been sacked, but there's no one in there. So the Changeling could have gone into the settlement, raised it, done anything, but he decided not to because obviously he won the fight. But he's still continuing on to raid. He's not being aggressive in the slightest. Huge news! He has finally moved away from Workbad, and he's continuing on raiding. So now he's actually trying to do something. So if we go ahead and zoom to his location, like so, we know he's around here, and if we see the garrison of the Moot, we can see it's actually weakened, but I'm not sure how it's not got the settlements itself weakened, so I'm assuming there's no cult inside of that, because otherwise the buildings itself would be damaged, but he's around here, and somehow the garrison is weakened, unless it was repaired on the same turn. As if he's sacked, it would be their turn, they can repair. Potentially so, yeah, because the Changeling goes first, and then the Sterling could then repair it on their turn. So, yeah, realistically, there could be a cult in here. Now, we'll go to turn 15, and this is the last turn we'll do, and we'll zoom to him. So now he's moving around here, potentially trying to go towards... Wait, so he's just basically cycled back to where he basically started, because he starts around here. So in 15 turns, he's moved the best part of a couple of inches on the map, and he's only put in 3 cult buildings. So we go back to the very beginning. Is the Changeling going to be an absolute terror for everyone's campaigns? And absolutely bloody not. He's genuinely useless, so do not worry. The power creep for the AI is not existing. The Horde factions are still very dumb, but this is a new type of video that I'm making. I hope you guys enjoyed, because I just wanted to kind of like have a little look to see what the AI does. And yeah, so far, not worried the slightest. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, have a wonderful day, and make sure to check out my other content on the screen now.